Hello and welcome to Talking WoW, the podcast where we talk about World of Warcraft, believe it or not. My name is Tom, and today we are going to be delving into part 2 of our Dawn of the Infinite Megadungeon review spectacular episode. Because the Megadungeon was so mega, we had to split it up into 2 episodes. And I can't do this alone. I do have a party member with me today, and that is my co-host, Marty. Hey, Marty.
Hello. I'm here too, and I healed. I healed the group.
You did. You kept us alive, and now it's time to talk about our experiences in the second half of this mega dungeon. And if you haven't done the dungeon, or you haven't listened to our first part of our review of this, maybe you want to do that, because we are continuing on.
Is this where you say, and there will be a link up here, and then because we're not on video, you can't see us pointing up towards the top edge of the screen, but there will maybe, if we remember to put it in, be a link up here, right?
Oh, probably, yeah, probably, if you're lucky. So yes, we ventured into the Dawn of the Infinite, and we are faced with a new reality as we start the second half of this dungeon, and we're in. Is this the bad timeline, Marty? Is that what it is?
Yes, I guess this is a timeline that has been changed by the Infinites.
Yeah, the Infinite Dragonflight are reshaping their image of what the timelines are supposed to be, and we kick things off with a battle against an altered Tyr, who is now the Infinite Keeper, and well, he's basically saying, he's finally met his full potential thanks to the Infinite Dragonflight, which I would question he hasn't, because he dropped like a fly. He dropped very quickly for us, and maybe he wants to reconsider that actually the Infinite Dragonflight wasn't the right choice.
Perhaps.
But no, this one kicks off sort of reminiscent of just how the dungeon starts off. There's just very little trash, and then suddenly here we go. You're here for another boss encounter, which, to be honest, is pretty much a theme in the mega dungeon. Like, there's not too much trash here before we get started.
I mean, it is a fairly pretty forward fight. It is again one of those, don't stand in the bad stuff. For the healer specifically, there's a little interesting mechanic as well with 2 people, and I think it's sort of like a theme in this dungeon as well. But on this particular fight, there is 2 dots going around on 2 different people, and they will expire if you just leave them on. They will expire at the same time and do a lot of damage to everyone. So what you want to do is you want to stagger it. You want to dispel one, and then it will explode, and then you have time to heal up everyone else, and then you can dispel the other one, or let it expire by itself. So yeah, healing wise, this is it's stuff that I like. It's a little bit of a thing for the healer to do and think about.
I'm glad I don't have that responsibility. Just go and hit the things, then they die, and just don't even realize that healers are having to navigate things like that as well.
It's one of those things where if you do it incorrectly, like I did when we did it, I got it, and the melee DPS got it, and they also do AoE damage. That's why I want to dispel it. So I dispelled myself, just being thinking about myself first, and didn't realize that the other one was a melee dude who now couldn't DPS because he had to stay away from it. So I probably should have dispelled him first before myself. So yeah, small mistakes were made, but we made it anyway.
Well, there's probably various timelines where you got it right first time. And I don't know if that's a good segue for the next part of this mega dungeon, where we return inside the walls of the Dawn of the Infinite mega dungeon, I suppose, because where it all began, and suddenly, well, the Infinite Dragonfly have an entire army here waiting for us. But fortunately, we don't have to fight them, because Chromie works some magic and speeds up the time waves, and we are presented with this gauntlet where we have to navigate through all sorts of exploding orbs and such like. I feel like we've trained our whole life, haven't we, for not standing in stuff and avoiding stuff. I feel like this was the moment. It's like, okay, run through this gauntlet, avoid everything, and make it to the other side.
There's been a few of these type of events in previous dungeons as well, like Mythic Plus dungeons, where it is always interesting to see people who have, find this kind of stuff easy and people who don't find this kind of stuff easy. So I think in our run, I got through it in the first try. But that is not how I got through the previous few times I've done it. I definitely have learned a small tactic of things that I can do now to get through it. But the first time, I had to just use the portal that some of the other players were graciously enough to open up for us noobs, so they couldn't figure out how to get through it.
Yeah, so when you make it to the other side, there is something to click on that opens a portal. And I don't know how exactly it works if, like, obviously, just one person probably needs to make it through.
Yeah.
But does that portal opening get sped up if there's multiple people there?
I'm not completely sure. It definitely felt like it because we were two people who got through. I think I got through first, but I didn't get to channel it for long enough before the other person got through as well. So I'm actually not sure. It might be sped up the more people you are. Which, if you think about it in like a Mythic Plus sentence, it would make sense. And it actually also, it takes time to channel it, which I think is pretty cool because it does, make Mythic Plus, like, you need to get through if you want to get the good time. You cannot just, wait for the other ones to open it because it actually takes some time to open it on the other side. So, and obviously, I don't know how the graveyard runs are. Maybe Blizzard are very, mean and have placed the graveyard behind this thing. So if you, haven't opened the portal, then you need to run through it again, stuff like that. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting seeing that on Mythic Plus, just how people are going to get on with those gauntlets, because it is a bit of a move away from just regular mechanics, because usually those mechanics, you're learning them in a boss fight, right? You're not expecting that on the way to the boss fight. So having this extra element of like, okay, this is just an area where we can gain or lose time. And actually, I think to me, that seems quite fun, like having these extra things where it's like, it's not always on the boss fight. It's actually, there's ways like we can get to the boss quicker. And, in conventional dungeons, that's been like, well, don't pull that. We can avoid that patrol and things like that. Whereas this is just a straight up, hey, here's the thing, do it right.
Yeah. And funny enough, BFA actually had not just one but two of these dungeons, where the first one, and this is where I absolutely don't remember what it's called, but it actually had like a lot of electricity balls that are floating around, and you need to move through them, or you get teleported back to where you began. And then in the other Mega Dungeon, the Mega Dungeons from BFA, they also had like where you needed to hide in vents, while a lot of small robots, Megagon, yeah, where a lot of robots walking around, and you need to hide in the vents to not get discovered. And that one in particular was interesting to see, because if you've done it like 1,000 times and run it as a Mythic Plus a lot of times, then you figured out the route that these robots were going, so you could get through really quickly. But so you could easily see, who used to it, doing it, and who wasn't used to doing it. So it's one of those small fun things that some people don't find fun if they can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, we move on from there. If you make it through, maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just stuck. Your entire group just got stuck in a never-ending nightmare where you couldn't make it through this gauntlet, and you just had to leave it there. But if you did make it through here, you were rewarded then with a lot of sand, basically, which, it's always good. Just don't get it in your shoe. And you find yourself facing off against the bad Chromie, which is Morchi. And Morchi is, somewhat spearheading this timeline for the start of this second half of the dungeon. And, it's all about hats, isn't it, Marty? It's all about hats.
This is definitely all about hat. Morchi has an ability where they multiply themselves around the platform, and you need to be standing next to the correct Morchi before the time is up, and they will explode the platform. And I can tell you that in our first run, this was definitely a fight that gave us quite a few retries to figure out where to stand.
It looked like in the group we were running, though, that the correct Morchi got marked straight away. Now, either our tank was just very, very good, or that was an add-on that did that.
It could be either. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there are like some kind of a weak aura or something like that has already been developed for this. But yeah, when we did it first time...
Quick question regarding about that then.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we'll go off a little tangent. How do you feel about that? Like, a specific mechanic like that, where you need to select the right one, but an add-on could just flag up the right answer. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel like I'm sort of like in two minds about it. On one end, I think this is a fun mechanic. It's something where you need to pay attention to what's actually going on. So obviously, if someone can mark it, and you can work together, to overcome it. That's a fun mechanic to me. But on the other hand, I can also, because I've also been playing a lot of Mythic Plus, so I can also see it from that standpoint. Well, it's like, you know what? I've done this dungeon so many times. If this can just get a little bit easier by me having this weak aura or something like that, then I'll take that as well. So it's sort of like, yeah, I don't know. I have a foot in both camps, I think.
Very diplomatic answer there. I'll just say it shouldn't be able to happen. I don't think add-ons should be able to track something like that, like override a mechanic like that. You should learn your hats. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, I think it depends on again, where are you on the spectrum from casual to hardcore? Because, those hardcore people who are just doing Mythic Plus, they'll just want to get through the easiest ways. They will always do shenanigans like this. Whereas casual people are probably enjoying mechanics like this a little bit more. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they hate it as well. I don't know.
So after we have uncovered which is the right Morchi, and sadly, we defeat Morchi, and we wonder if Chromie and Morchi will ever be friends in some other timeline. Hopefully, because that would be nice. We head off to the time-lost battlefield, where, as Chromie excellently put it, we see the Horde and the Alliance fighting against each other, which could be any point in time. Like, it's really hard to pinpoint when this exactly is.
Except now. It's not now.
Except right now. It's not now. No, it's definitely in the past. It's not right now. Could be in the future. Who knows? Don't want to spoil anything for you there. But this is an encounter that is dependent on your faction, isn't it, Marty?
Yeah, I mean, I only know as an Alliance player that you were fighting Garrosh, Hellscream,
Gramosh.
Whereas if you are a Horde player, you'll be fighting Anduin Lothar. So it is faction based what you're going to fight. But yeah. To be 100% honest, I still don't fully understand what's going on in this fight, because I think we pretty much just one-shot it every time I've been here. It is, just the usual, don't stand in things I find and then just, kill the boss.
It's just a battlefield, Marty. That's it. It's just...
It is.
It's just a fight. Although, I think it would have been cooler if this was set somewhere, like, not within the Dawn of the Infinite Megadungeon, but you were just teleported to a battleground, not a battleground, or maybe a battleground, I don't know, but maybe just somewhere, you've got the landscape, you've got some trebuchets firing off in the background. Obviously take a lot of artwork to do that, but yeah, it just felt like, oh, there's Grommash, or there's Anduin Lothar, and yeah, that It's not going to go down as one of the epic battles of the Horde and the Alliance, is it, really?
No, probably not this particular one, but it's also, I think there is, I kind of like the the atmosphere as well, because it is called the infinite battlefield, so it's infinite, it's going on, it's, a time loop or whatever, because, up on, at least in history up until now, that's how it's been, right? With Horde and Alliance, always been fighting each other, almost like an infinite loop.
Yep, until the cycle got broke. And speaking about breaking the cycle, I suppose, we then move on to the finale. Chrono Lord Deus and the Infinite Dragonflight, they want to bring in this new order to Azeroth. And, we've had so many encounters with the Infinite Dragonflight, like throughout our time playing World of Warcraft. They've always been there, haven't they? Meddling in the past, and we've had to go back and fix things. But this has felt like, a lot of years building up to actually having a showdown where we can sort them out once and for all.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole Murasson quest line, or just a storyline, I suppose, that, has been going on since when? How long? When did we know about Murasson the first time? Was that Wrath? I think that's one of the first time I remember, at least, with those Wrath dungeons that got added later on in a patch.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time, and I know the Infinite Dragonflight themselves, that started pretty much like in the Caverns of Time back in the Burning Crusade, and finally it's a showdown. And what a place to have a showdown. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the last episode when we fought a Ridicron, and we've got this backdrop again of Galakron, but this time, we're a bit closer to the teeth, and it's such an epic sort of like picturesque place in history. And again, we talked about it a lot in the last episode, but I think it is actually worth coming here again for another fight, because obviously they've reused some of the assets and the art, because we're basically repeating where we are, but just it's a different timeline. But I have no qualms like coming here again and having a big fight.
No, me neither. And the fight itself is pretty good fun. There's a few different mechanics that is also interesting. And again, here come, the theme again. It's in twos, where two zones are being placed on the battleground on top of players. If it's like basically these energy balls going down towards the ground. If someone is standing in the zone, they'll move down slowly. If somebody's not standing, they will move down fast. So, and when they hit the ground, then they will explode. If both of them explode at the same time, then you're pretty much dead. So you don't want that. So you want one player to stay in and another player to get out. It will explode, put a debuff on the group. When the debuff has expired, then you can move out of the other one and make that one explode on the ground, and you should be safe. So again, it's probably something healers most of the time will have to deal with, in my experience, where the healer is just taking charge and being like, I'm the one staying in, everybody else just get the hell out of those zones. I mean, obviously anyone can do this, any range, any ability, but it is probably going to be a healer thing, I reckon.
Yes, a lot going on there, isn't there? But you expect it for the finale. It's not supposed to be straightforward. And like, do you think this is a fitting end to this Megadungeon?
I think so. I mean, the first time I was here, it took us quite a few tries. I even think that we basically ran out of time for the evening, so we had to come back like the day after or something like that, because people had to get to bed. People have work and stuff like that in the morning. So I definitely feel like this is a good encounter. I really enjoy this. How frustrating it might have been there for the first time, when you start to get the hang of it, I'm like, yeah, this is actually, it's a good encounter. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great setting, and you've got the proto aspects there as well. So you're there with the whole gang. Alex Strauss is there, Ysera, you got Neltharia and Malagos and Nosdormu just in their their proto Drake form as well. So it's like, oh, actually, am I older than these dragons now, or they just feel like little babies almost. And when you inevitably defeat Chrono Deus, then that's when we get a little bit more of the story as well. And Iridikron, who we juked it out a little bit with earlier on in the dungeon, the first half, he's back, and we get a little teaser of like what he might be up to, and what is it he actually gets from this.
As I understand it, it's the hunger from Galakrond. So the reason why Galakrond, ate so many of his fellow peers, went, cannibalistic and grew in size. So I wonder
the reason why he put so many all-you-can-eat restaurants out of business as well.
Exactly. So I wonder what they want with that, and what they want it for. He needs to use it for. Interesting.
And Iridikron then departs through a shadowy-looking portal, or a void-looking portal, and well, we don't know where they're off to. And
one small interesting thing is, and I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed, or if other people have noticed as well, when he's looking into that whatever he's holding, that item, you can see, it has the void colors and void moving around inside of it, and then you can see the eyes from him, and I'm like, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? And then I realized, this is totally like the front cover of StarCraft. It looks like StarCraft. So is this like the two universes emerging now? Is that what's happening? Or is this just me reaching?
I mean, that is a prediction, isn't it? I did not see that coming. I mean, StarCraft hasn't been doing much recently, so, maybe they're going to get Jim Raynor out of retirement and fly him over to Azeroth, and he's going to take care of the Incarnates. I don't know. Probably not. That might be a stretch.
Well, I just found it so interesting, or so funny that, everything that... I'm pretty sure if you check those two images and put them side by side, you can definitely see that they are looking very similar.
Yeah, and maybe that's intentional, just like, here's a little nod to the eagle-eyed people that notice this.
Maybe.
But yes, that brings to the end the Megadungeon, and well, I think overall, like through these two parts that we've discussed, like I think we are big fans of Megadungeons, and also just the extra bit of creativity that I feel like the developers maybe have with these, whereas regular dungeons feel very much like they're, getting you from A to B to C to D very quickly. And Megadungeons, you get to fire a load of bosses into a big old instance, and, add some fun stuff along there as well. And are you like looking forward to running more of this, Marty, especially once it's in its mythic phase? Are you going to be looking forward to getting this one pop up?
I mean, it's one of those things you don't really know until you tried it, because fights, when there's like a modifier that increases the damage by multiple 100%, fights change a little bit in character, or can change quite a bit in character. So it's one of those things where right now, while we don't have these in the Mythic Plus situation, I'm looking forward to them. Ask me in a couple of months, I might hate one, or maybe even both of them, or maybe I love them, who knows. Only future Marty will know that.
Yeah, and that timeline has yet to be discovered, but the timeline we're on right now is coming to an end. The grains of sand just about done. That's it, really. There's nothing left to say, except we made 2 episodes about a Megadungeon, so it must have been all right. I've been Tom. That's been Marty. And we've been talking WoW.
Thanks for tuning in, champion. Did you enjoy this episode of Talking WoW? If so, why not drop a review on your podcast catcher of choice, or leave us a comment. You can find Talking WoW on Twitter or YouTube over at Talking WoW. Hope to see you again soon.